Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for joining us again today for another inspired conversation. We today welcome back a special guest on the Inspired channel, Greg the Hydrogen Man. Thank you so much for joining us again today. It's wonderful that you're here. By the way, Greg, this is hydrogen water. Our lives are really beginning to change. Greg made it possible for us to get a hydrogen machine and taught us a lot about it. And we're drinking this every day. It's absolutely increasing our well-being, our health. It's a wonderful thing. For those of you who haven't seen our first conversation, we'll put the link down here and up here, somewhere, and you can watch the first interview with Greg. Greg, this is a very, very powerful thing, hydrogen. But before we talk about anything, and you share what has happened since the first interview, a quick disclaimer. Neither Greg nor I, diagnose or recommend treatment or give any kind of medical advice. What we talk about here is experience and observation. That's a disclaimer. Now, Greg, that's out of the way, can you let us know what has happened since our first conversation? And I know you have a lot of wonderful success stories to share with hydrogen.
Oh man, it's been really wild since the last conversation, and I'm already starting to get the testimonials coming in. So many of them are they're so heart touching. I mean, this is the greatest thing in life, in my opinion, when we can do good things for others and help others and change people's lives. The way that hydrogen obviously has changed my life. And one of the wonderful ones that came in was a woman who has dementia, and her daughter got her the hydrogen machine. And in Japan, they are doing actually studies on dementia and the effects of hydrogen on it. But the way that it affected her mother it was so dramatic. She literally sent me pictures, and I made a video of it over on my YouTube channel, and you can see the difference in every week or every so many weeks. It was dramatic. People were really blown away by it. And she obviously emailed me, and she even asked, she goes, "Are these normal results?" Because she said, "This is crazy." She was shocked. It was really nice.
The lady, her mother that has dementia, I've seen the pictures. We're going to put them on screen here so people can see them too. What are the inner effects or what are the behavioral effects that it had on her?
Yeah, so some of her symptoms were, it didn't appear that she could even hold a spoon to feed herself. When she would try to speak, she would slur her words. She really couldn't speak very well. She kind of had a weird kind of glazed look over her eyes, like she wasn't really all there. And what was the last one there? Oh, and she really couldn't stand up really well and walk. And after, using hydrogen for an extended period of time regularly, she did follow my specific protocol, which I always tell people it's really crucial. The equipment and the protocol, otherwise it just doesn't work. I've seen hydrogen not work properly, but regardless of that, she did it right. And she was holding her utensil, could feed herself. She could speak without slurring. She was walking way too much. In fact, they were trying to get her to sit down, and she definitely did not have that glazed look over her eyes. Again, as you said in the pictures, you can see her smiling and looking so different. It's life. That's what hydrogen is. It's the life molecule, and it brings life back into the body. And it was so beautiful, man. And that was, you were part of that, so it was just so great.
Well, thank you for saying that. And thank you for everything you do in this regard. Also, when you go and check out the first interview with Greg, I really recommend after this you do it, because Greg talks about his story, how he went from being in a very, very bad health state and, basically not being able to do anything anymore, paralyzed and everything, how his hydrogen journey brought him to what you see now, perfect health in all areas. So that's really, really amazing to watch. When we talk about these success stories like this lady, what's the time period? Because I just want to share one thing real quick. We've been drinking, I think, hydrogen water now for 2.5, 3 weeks, maybe a little more, something like that. And one of our family members had an amazing shift with her menstruation. First of all, this was the first time in her memory that it was very much pain-free. And a much gentler and smoother experience, which is out of character for her and her experience before. And she could intuitively connect it to hydrogen water because that was a significant change that had occurred. So that's a fairly imminent shift. How long did the lady drink hydrogen water for before shifts began to occur?
I believe that it was roughly a month, maybe a little less than a month. And it really does depend on the person. I mean, I've seen conditions, for example, glaucoma. It was something that my dad was dealing with. And it took 3 years. And eventually the doctors couldn't even detect it anymore. So that took a long time. And it really depends on the individual. But I knew somebody who had issues with her periods where she literally was bleeding 3 weeks out of the month. And this was going on for years. And she tried everything. She went to a lot of healers. She tried a lot of the like the diet things, and she went completely like vegan. And she even did ayahuasca journey. She did so many things to try to heal that condition, and her hormones were completely out of whack. And then she even tried the Kangen machine, and that didn't fix it either. And then when she met me, I explained to her hydrogen, how to properly do it, the proper way to make it, all the info. And then she followed that protocol, and it fixed her issue. But that one took about 6 months to fix her issue. So it just depends. Some people get results in a few weeks, and some people it just takes more time.
And I would also probably assume, the longer an issue has been going on, sometimes also a little longer it takes, obviously. But it's still, whether that's 6 months or a year, it's absolutely worth it. I mean, to experience these effects and experience well-being. What are some of the other success stories recently? Because I know, for those of you who are not familiar with Greg is such a helping soul and spirit, and he makes himself available to so many people to teach them the protocol, to help them through this journey, and hence he also gets to hear a lot of amazing success stories. So what else is there in front of you, Greg?
One of the really exciting ones was actually a theory that I had about breastfeeding. And there's been a lot of issues with breastfeeding. I have my own theories as to why, but there's been a lot of issues with that. And I've worked with lactation consultants before, and I never really got to work with people specifically on that. And recently, a woman who had already had children, she had 2 children prior, and then now she has a new baby, and she always had issues breastfeeding. She found me. She got on the hydrogen, and I literally got an email from her yesterday, and she's like, my milk is flowing. And she was so happy. I mean, just what a difference. And we need that these days. It's so important for children to make that connection, as we were talking about earlier, with the mother, and for milk, the natural milk to really come through, rather than, buying food in a can or whatever it is, man-made stuff. It's just not the same as what nature provides. And that was a beautiful testimonial. That was really neat.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. That's one of the most beautiful things I've heard, because it's so important. It actually now completely enhanced and changed 2 lives, right? And especially that of a baby. And as you said, breastfeeding goes way beyond just a physical feeding. It is the most intimate, deepest connection between a mother and her child. And obviously so much wisdom and knowledge is also transferred through that process. So this is absolutely amazing. I understand that, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I forgot to mention that the woman also said that, because I also believe the hydrogen will enhance the milk. She said her baby, the complexion, the skin, there's something about the baby that just looks much healthier than her 2 previous children. So I don't think it's just the milk. I think it's also, it does something, because the way that hydrogen affects the blood also, and the way that it affects the milk, in my opinion, is it really enhances it. And she's been seeing it even with the way the baby's looking. It's been amazing.
That's absolutely wonderful. And I know since our first conversation, which I love, a lot of people have gone over to your YouTube channel, have started watching, started implementing the protocol. So that is our favorite thing to hear, because that's exactly what the intention is, to not just have a great interview, but also to connect people to amazing techniques, amazing possibilities, and this wisdom that goes way beyond just what meets the eye. You've always said this is enhancing your physical well-being, but also your spiritual well-being. And that is something that I can attest to now. It definitely enhances that. But I hear you got everything from success stories of back pain and ankle and what else has been going on?
Let's see. Well, one of the big ones that I'm excited about is kidney disease, because the doctors will tell you that reversing kidney disease is impossible. And yet that was another one of the emails. There was a gentleman, and he said his kidney numbers are better.
And the doctor was pretty surprised about that. But I've seen a lot of people with kidney issues. One of them specifically is one of my brothers. I don't know, I think it happened about almost a year ago. It's been like 8 or 9 months. And I didn't even know he had kidney issues. And he called me out of the blue one day because he was literally about to get on dialysis. He was right there. And that's bad. You don't want to get on dialysis. It's really terrible. And your kidneys are shutting down. And so immediately he's like, what should I do? And of course, I spent hours with him. I'm like, okay, we got to, show you how to clean the water. We got to show you how to put the hydrogen in it, everything that I do. And sure enough, it reverses kidney disease. He went from borderline stage 4 to literally stage 5 to he's just getting out of stage 3 and heading into stage 2. So his doctor was actually shocked. He's like, whoa, your kidneys have reversed. And they did an ultrasound to look at them, and the inflammation had come down, which is one thing that hydrogen has been shown to do, to function as an anti-inflammatory. And it was remarkable. So kidneys are a big one.
Well, an absolutely essential part of our bodies, and we can't live without them. So that is amazing. And to me, I've never bought into the idea that anything is incurable or uncurable, or that we are very limited in the ability to heal. So hearing those stories is just a confirmation for I believe I've held all my life, and that's why I think I've had bad injuries and sickness, and I never for a moment believed I couldn't overcome and heal fully. So that's important. Can you talk a little bit about, because when we received the hydrogen machine a few weeks ago, as I said, we were surprised at how simple this whole thing is. Literally, I mean, it's a very simple thing to use. What is the protocol? Also, what is the cost? And I understand the cost might shock people just a little bit, but considering the tremendous effect it has and the potential savings on a lot of other things that would otherwise occur, I believe the cost is quite minimal compared to other expenses that might occur. Can you talk about that a little bit and about the protocol itself?
Yeah, the nice thing is that the Japanese made it simple, because it really isn't that simple to make this quality of hydrogen. And then one of the wonderful things that the company does, which nobody in the world does, they actually lab test their equipment and certify it. So you know exactly how much hydrogen you're getting. And they went above and beyond to make it safe. That's really been a huge factor and issue in the world of hydrogen. Is there's a lot of people making it unsafely with chemicals, which is crazy, like lye, or they create chemical reactions with pills, and they're not good for you. And so the Japanese really went to make it super pure, and then also make the right levels, and then make it so simple. Like you said, it's literally one button. It's so easy to use, and it's tiny. That's another big one. The Japanese like things small. So it's not this big monstrosity that's noisy and makes, a lot of noise. So yeah, they really did a great job in regards to that. And then as far as like protocols, I invented actually the protocol, because you can either use hydrogen water or hydrogen gas inhalation. And my protocol is both. And you want to make the water and the gas at a high level, meaning it's got to be really clean, because that's been one of the other issues. Actually, I have been getting emails that have kind of been bothering me, a lot of them, of people who've been getting harmed by using the wrong type of hydrogen, because they're drinking water from these machines that use lye. And actually, you know what it actually caused? One of these women was literally hospitalized from kidney failure, and I felt terrible. I was contacted by her doctor. He couldn't understand what was happening. And he's like, I need to find the expert, and they found me. And then I immediately told them what was going on. And we were able to reverse her kidney disease again and bring her back, which was great, because it almost took her life. I mean, it was that bad. She was in the ER. And so really crucial to do it correct. I can never emphasize that enough, because I don't want people to get harmed. If you do it right, it's amazing though. And the protocol entails with drinking the water first on an empty stomach. This is kind of the key. You do the inhalation, which actually I have right here. You would do the inhalation after drinking of the water. You don't have to do it in that particular order. That's just when you want to maximize the benefits and get the benefits quicker. And I think that's what's bringing people actually the benefits so much faster these days, because it took me years to figure out how to do my protocol just right. And I like specifically to drink the water, 0.5 liter to 1 liter is the range, depending on your kidney health also. And I also recommend the cleanest water, but that's a whole other conversation. And then, before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner,
And then if, throughout the day, if you want more water, and maybe inhale it depends on the person's conditions. I do have different protocols depending on how severe somebody is. But, a good inhale for like an hour and a half is like a really nice number. A lot of people have gotten very odd results. I mean, really crazy ones. Even my own mother has gotten some really cool stuff from hydrogen.
You inhale for an hour and a half?
Sometimes. I mean, wow. Sometimes I just said, yeah, you can inhale, no problem, because the purity of it. Hydrogen is more pure than anything there is in existence. It's more pure than oxygen.
And while we're talking, Kristin and I are literally learning from Greg right now, and we've been learning over the past weeks. So we drink the water, but how do you produce the gas?
The device has another option. This is the neat thing about this device when the Japanese developed it. They knew, because I should tell you, maybe one day I'll tell you the story about one of the guys who was involved in the project. His own daughter was sick. That was the whole reason he wanted to make the best hydrogen machine in the world for home use. It ended up being so good that they use it in medical centers. That's how good it is in Japan. And he wanted to make both the gas inhalation and the water, because he knew the science shows that they kind of provide different benefits, and they also provide similar benefits. But when you use them synergistically, when you use them together, it creates even more benefits than neither one does on its own. So it's important to use both of them to really maximize and get the most out of it. And the option that machine will do it, do the inhalation aspect. You just change the lid. I don't know if you noticed, you take off the lid and you take out the white crown that's inside of it, and you fill up the pitcher all the way. You put on a different lid that it has where you put the cannula, and you run the machine, and the gas is actually escaping right through the cannula to your nose. And the levels that it makes is exactly what they've been showing in the #1 university in the world, shows what the therapeutic amount of hydrogen gas is. And so this machine was designed with the intention of following all the science. So that's what was also, this is why some science is important also to learn and see what works and what doesn't, depending on who's funding the studies, of course, right? And in this particular case,
the main question, a study will say whatever the person who pays for it wants it to say, unless they are someone who really wants to find something out. That's rare, but it does exist. It does exist. When it comes to the water, what I notice is I do feel different when I drink it. So I feel an effect. It's not like maybe to say a buzz is too strong, but I feel it's like vitalizing. Mm-hmm. Literally, I can feel life flowing through me. How is the effect because I look forward to that now. How's the effect with the gas?
So the gas is really great for the brain. So this is one of the ways they were doing it for dementia, because it goes straight to the brain. It goes right past the blood-brain barrier, and it's safe, again, if the hydrogen is made properly. So, and it's also good for the eyes. So again, people with glaucoma, I've had people contact me with macular degeneration, which is supposed to be incurable. And I've had people tell me that theirs have gone away, and it was amazing. Obviously good for the sinuses and for the lungs. It's extremely good for the lungs. And it does get in your blood. Doing the inhalation of hydrogen gets it in the blood rapidly. But when you get off of it, it goes away. The water does other things that are just literally straight up magical. Things that the gas just won't do, cannot do. And that's the reason that I like to use both. But yeah, when you drink it, for example, if anybody's ever noticed, if you drink a normal glass of water, sometimes if you drink a lot of it, you can feel it sitting in your stomach and it feels kind of heavy and sloshing around. That typically doesn't happen with the hydrogen water, because the moment it's going down your throat, it's already been absorbed before it even hits your stomach. It's like so absorbent and so hydrating.
Oh, that is so true. And I, like you recommended, I usually drink, when I'm not doing an interview, I usually drink the glass fairly quick. So it'll be sometimes in the morning, especially when I get up, the first thing is a glass of hydrogen water. And I'd say probably 10 seconds, it's gone. And I love how it feels. Very vitalizing. I'm sure you've had experience with communicating this to the medical community, to the scientific community. How are they, especially in the mainstream, how are they reacting to what you're saying? And did you have any success with doctors and scientists in communicating this?
It was really hard for a long time. This is the way that the conversation typically goes. I've done so many of them. I'll talk to them. They'll say, I've never heard of it. They're very, very skeptical. They don't think much of it. And halfway through the conversation, I can feel they're not being very receptive. And then I just stop. I'm like, look, you know what? why don't you go read the science first? Because you're clearly not educated on this subject. You clearly haven't looked at the science because the data is already there. This is not even a debate. I don't even know why why I'm trying to explain something to this gentleman. And so one time, actually this has happened many times, but one time in particular, they go look at the data and they always get back to me in about a week or less. And they always say the same thing. This is amazing. I can't believe the data that's out there. How did I not know about this? This is ridiculous. It's just bonkers what hydrogen does. But I've talked to a lot of different people who are in the field, whether it's the medical field or understanding what goes on in the medical field. They're always blown away by it.
And of course, this is, I want to say the doctor being the one who's directly involved with the patient. Sometimes I'm being cynical here. Sometimes their ethical, moral compass is still intact. A lot of times, unfortunately, it isn't. But of course, they also answer to insurance companies and pharma companies. Now, the hydrogen machine must be a threat to the insurance and especially the pharma companies, simply because it does another thing that keeps people away from being on a subscription basis on a drug and keeps people from having to be on this constant treatment model. Do you think that it will, in the following months and years, break through in the mainstream medical community, and doctors will actually, maybe, especially after the last years and the shock that's gone through the system, also created a dividing line between those who are ethical and morally sound and those who aren't? Do you think this type of treatment will begin to really go into the mainstream and help millions of people rather than just thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands at this time?
If it's like naturopathic doctors and different chiropractors and doctors of that sort, I think that if they even learned about it, because I've seen a lot of them, they just don't know how to do hydrogen right. I've had so many of them contact me who, it's sad to say, they've actually harmed their patients because they've been using the wrong equipment. And that has been happening a lot because they don't know about me and they don't know about the Japanese equipment, which is really the best there is. And so, but I do think that in time, it's going to happen more. Now, as far as the mainstream medical field, I don't think we're going to see this there for quite some time. It was very hard for the Japanese. So even in Japan, their government was against hydrogen. They did not want it approved medically. They didn't want to do it. It was very much, I think, like it is in America. But a lot of these scientists push so hard because they're like, look, we have clear data. And they kept proving through scientific studies that hydrogen was the real deal. It reached the point where they couldn't deny it anymore. And it was approved. It is totally medically approved in Japan in mainstream medical, usage of hydrogen, just like we use oxygen. I mean, we use oxygen in the medical field, but I think they're very resistant against a lot of gases. I think oxygen is the only thing they've kind of approved, but there's so many ways to use oxygen also that they do not approve and they don't use that it really could be helpful. So I think there actually are threatened. Absolutely. They do not want to see these type of treatments. It's too easy. And it really isn't that expensive. I mean, it really is in the grand scheme of the medical field. It's a drop in the bucket. It's so little.
So in your experience, many years of research, and you are a deep researcher, I've noticed this about you. You go into the data, into the science, into the nitty gritty stuff that a lot of people don't want to do, but you do it, which I think is great. In your experience, what is the best machine? What company do you work with? And if now doctors are watching, natural doctors or homeopaths or chiropractors or the average, non-average, of course, this is, but just everyday people that want to use the effects of hydrogen, what's the way to go about it?
Well, the best equipment, I hate to say this, but I do stay away from stuff from China, Taiwan, and Korea. The reason I say that is because I've seen them lab tested. I've seen how they make the hydrogen and the materials they use. It led me to Japan. The Japanese are just, they're elite when it comes to the details. And when it comes to hydrogen, it takes details. It really does. It's a very detail-oriented thing. And the level of purity that they went after that I didn't even understand when I was first researching hydrogen. I didn't understand that there was a certain way to do it so that it would be safe and pure. So the machine that I use, which is the best one that I found, is called a 2022 Lourdes Hydrofix Premium. It's from a company called Holy Hydrogen. They have a website, holyhydrogen.com. You can read a lot of the science there. You can see the machine there. And obviously, if doctors want to get involved, they work with doctors. So that way they can recommend them to their patients. And that's definitely the route I've gone. There was there's only, out of all the machines out there, and there's a ton of them, there's only 3 that I found that are actually good and safe. One of them is a Japanese machine, but it only does the gas. It doesn't make the water. And it's crucial to have the water. And that machine was incredibly expensive. It was like $11,000. So that was one of them. And then there was another Japanese device. It was Japanese engineered, but they did use some Chinese parts. Even though it says made in Japan, I found out that they were ordering some parts from China. And that machine made water only, no gas inhalation. It was a safe machine, but it didn't make the water the best way. It did it the second best way, which was still good. It was still safe. But the Lourdes Hydrofix, the one that I use, is the #1 machine in Japan. It's the #1 machine in Asia. They're literally the #1 hydrogen company in the world. They even have their own labs to be able to test hydrogen properly, which nobody really tests it properly in America. Nobody tests it properly anywhere. The equipment that they have to use is specifically made in Japan. These guys they're top notch. They understand hydrogen better than anybody. And they made it affordable for everybody, which was such a beautiful thing because you couldn't always get this level of quality of hydrogen for this type of price. I mean, we're talking $50,000 to $100,000 to get this type of quality. Eventually they made that $11,000 machine, and that was pretty good, but that's still expensive, for most people. And now we can totally have access to it. And this is actually their medical edition, which they provide in America. They only provide the best. So they don't really provide any of the other products.
And what's the price for that machine?
They're under $2,500 and they're extremely reliable, which is another really nice thing. And they just last years and years and years. So it's actually the cheapest way to make hydrogen in the long term, which is what you're going to want anyway. You're going to want to use it in the long term. It's like buying a quality car.
I would absolutely recommend maybe holding off on the next vacation and investing this because the effects that you're going to have from a vacation are lasting, a few days, and the effects that you're going to have from this is absolutely amazing. Also, we're the links that we encourage you to use because we're so appreciative of what Greg does. The Hydrogen Man, he's gone out there and built something that was an obscure topic that nobody understood anything about. And you created your YouTube channel and you go on there and you provide this and you talk to people and you email with people and you're on the phone with people and you're helping them. You've put so much work into this. So when you go, please use the link that we put in the description, because when you do purchase a machine, there will be a small commission that Greg will make off the machine, which will allow him to continue this work. And we think it's important. So please use the link in the description when you consider buying a machine. How can people get in touch with you, learn more from you, subscribe to your channel? What are good ways to do that?
One, they can email me if they want to. My email is uprising144k@gmail.com. I always recommend people to watch the videos because I put them out for free. I give everything for free on the channel, and they can subscribe for free and they can watch, and it educates you. I give most of the information out there. Some of my videos, if you'll notice, have been removed. Thanks, YouTube. They did remove some of my videos, so I always have to be cautious about everything. But that's the best way, in my opinion. And then, of course, if they have really a lot of questions about the machine or they want the machine, they really should go to the company. A lot of people email me for that, but I'm like, you should go to the company, and that's holyhydrogen.com. And if they want the discount, we obviously have the coupon to help people give a discount. And yeah, that's probably the best way.
So please hop over to Greg's channel, The Hydrogen Man, on YouTube. Again, what's the channel name, Greg?
Yeah, so the name of the channel is Uprising144k. And I'm always very grateful if people share the channel, because my intention was always to grow the channel so that way I could always work for free for the people. I wanted to just work for free for the people if the channel was big enough. And so it really helps when people try to spread the word and get attention to it.
And Greg, what we've noticed is when you're helping people and when you are not necessarily charging for that, there's always those who have more and they do like to contribute. Is there a way also to contribute to your work? Send a donation or a payment? Is there an option to do that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. What I did is a friend of mine helped me set up a PayPal account, and people can donate through PayPal, because I used to have one of those Patreon accounts, but there's so many issues, and Patreon was taking, they were taking a lot of money from you. They eventually took everything. I ended up getting nothing through Patreon. And so that was a whole other ordeal. But so it's just easier if they just donate directly to me if they wish to support what I'm doing.
So please do that. Go over, subscribe, support Greg, watch the videos. It's great information. His heart's in the right place. He has such extensive knowledge around this subject. So we can't recommend it high enough. And Greg, I want to preview something here for the next time that we get together. This is a standing invitation. You have told us a story, Kristin and I, that you haven't shared before. A very intimate spiritual story, but you also felt that it might be the right time to begin sharing this with a greater public because of the benefits you think it's going to bring. So if you are still willing to do that, this is a standing invitation to come back and also share this story. I think it would be very, very beautiful and beneficial for the people to hear it.
Well, I thank you so much for the invitation, and I'll do it. I've been thinking about it I've been holding back actually for years. And you and Christina were inspiring me to. They're like, you should share it. And I've been hesitant, as you probably well know. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to be, I don't know if the word's brave, but I'm going to try to be more courageous, and I'll share that only because I do think it's important. I think it's actually very important.
Wonderful. We'll do that soon. Thank you, Greg, for taking the time, for sharing these success stories with us, for doing what you do, for helping others. And everybody, go to the link in the description, the Holy Hydrogen, Greg's link, his affiliate link. Please use that one. Go subscribe to his channel. Reach out if you need anything. And we'll have Greg with us again very, very soon. Thank you again for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. It's good to be with you.
Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.